This is Ask Todd on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. If you have an existing estate plan or are in the market for one, Todd Lutsky is here to answer your questions and help you plan for later life. Ask Todd is presented by Cushing & Dolan, serving Massachusetts and New England for more than 35 years, helping families with estate and tax planning, Medicaid planning, and probate law. Visit CushingDolan.com. Now, here's Todd Lutsky.
Todd Lutsky from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan joins us now on the show for Ask Todd. This is your chance to ask Todd your estate planning questions. First one of these that we've done in 2025, so we got the phone line open for you at 888-205-2263. Get calling if you've got an estate planning question for Todd. Again, we've got limited time to be able to actually take those calls, so make sure you get in line early at 888-205-2263. That number again is 888-205-2263. Mr. Lutsky, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. Hope you're enjoying the new year. How are you?
Doing fantastic as well. I saw someone, did you see the story about the guy who got arrested for stealing the balloons?
Arrested for stealing balloons? No. What happened to him?
Well, police held him for a while and then let him go. So what are you going to do? But in any case, Todd, let's talk a little bit about planning as it relates to long-term care costs. Specifically, I want to talk about the 5-year look-back period. When did that 5-year look-back period for Medicaid planning go into effect originally?
So it's just, this really takes us back a while. It initially was 3 years, and many people remember it as 3 years, but there was always some confusion with that. Even back in 2006, I believe the Deficit Reduction Act came out and made every transfer 5 years. Now, remember, what people didn't realize was before 2006, the look-back period for transferring assets directly to family members, individuals, was 3 years. But it was always 5 years transferring assets to a trust. Now, since 2006, it's 5 years, whether you transfer the asset directly to an individual or to a trust. That was really the big change. But, we always got to keep in mind that 5 years is 5 years. And now, again, I never thought it was a great idea to just give things to a child anyway. So I would never have done it to avoid the 5-year waiting period, even when you could, and it was 3 years, just because there's so many negatives, from taxes to control to, just overall probate issues, nursing homes. I wouldn't do it. Then I would use a trust. So I would have used a trust all the time. So there's the difference between the 5 and the 3. And what has changed over time.
Todd, in talking about that and how it's evolved over time, is there any sense that look-back period may evolve further to, will it get shorter or longer? Is that not really something that is being discussed as any kind of legislation at this point?
So the good news is that I haven't seen really any new legislation, even, committees discussing the change. So that is a positive, I think. I did see a while back where they were thinking about making it 7 years, although it hasn't really gone anywhere. But that said, I want people to understand, sort of how it works too, because many people will say, well, what if I do it now and then they change it later? Am I grandfathered in? That's sort of a follow-up question you get all the time, right? And the good news, and history as our guide, of course, you never really know what the government will do or can do, but history as our guide anyway, no, get your clock running now, lock in your 5-year waiting period, and not worry about the change, because the change that has occurred has always been proactive, not retroactive. And I can go back to the 2016, 2006 law change, when the Deficit Reduction Act did change from 3 years to 5 years. I can tell you how busy we were, getting things done before the law changed. Why? Because the people who did it were grandfathered in with the three when it went to five. So if you do your five now and lock it in and they change it to 7 or 10 down the road, you will have grandfathered yourself in, or likely will have. So that's a little history and points on the 5 year look back.
Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, right to your questions with Todd Lutsky. That phone number again to call into the show and ask Todd your questions is 888-205-2263. One more time, that's 888-205-2263. Your questions with Todd are next.
Ask Todd with Todd Lutsky every Wednesday at 10:30, only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Todd Lutsky answers your questions about estate and elder life planning every Wednesday at 10:30, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, time for your questions with Todd. We still do have a little bit more room on the phone line, so give us a call at 888-205-2263 if you got a question for Todd. Again, that is 888-205-2263. Let's go to Mary in Salem. Mary, you are on with Todd Lutsky.
Good morning, Todd. Kind of in a pickle. My husband has dementia. He currently is in the hospital, and he rapidly declined within the last 3 months or so. He's always been manageable. I don't have an estate. I don't have an estate plan. Is there anything that I can do at this point to protect my house? We have a 2-family with a mortgage, and I just don't know where to turn.
Let me ask you a couple of follow-up questions. So one, you've got the 2-family, and is there other, like a lot of like IRA money or investment money or bank money kicking around?
About $120,000
in total dollars.
Correct.
Okay. So the two assets are the 120 and the 2-family. And
Right.
And again, no advanced planning was done. My final question is, and again, it sounds like he is perhaps declining rapidly, and maybe you're not able to handle him anymore. When you made the comment, not able to handle him anymore, do you mean that when he gets discharged from the hospital, do you think he's coming home, or do you think he's going to end up in a long-term care facility?
Well, I don't have the funds for a long-term care facility.
That isn't what I asked, though. Do you
He'll have to
think?
come home.
But if and so the way I'm sort of asking this is if it's not safe for him to come home and not easy for you to deal with him, because again, they could get violent. They could. I understand the different things that happen when they get the dementia. If it's technically not safe for him to come home and he had to go to a nursing home, if he's qualified for a nursing home now, meaning he's old enough, I mean, he's sick enough to go to a nursing home, you don't have to worry about paying. That's why you're calling, right? So don't worry about the cost, because looking at the assets you have, he would be eligible for Medicaid right away, and you wouldn't have to pay. So that said, do you think the nursing home is the family decision, the right thing for him, or is he still coming home?
Well, that's still to be determined by the doctors, I guess. At this point, they asked me if I thought of long-term care, and I hadn't, because I didn't think that he would do well. So
okay. So once you decide, the family, the doctors, your health decisions are played out, and if it becomes the best interest for him is a nursing home for him, the family, for everybody, and that's the recommendation, then yes, we can do last minute planning, which is really what this guide is all about, right? It's all about people like yourself that end up facing a nursing home admission and really haven't done much planning. And so in your case, you have a primary residence that you live in, correct?
Correct.
Is that correct?
with a that's correct, with a mortgage.
That's fine. No problem. You are
Okay.
allowed to keep your primary residence as long as you live there. There's no value limitation, and there's no lien that will be attached to it. And you can continue to pay all your bills. That leaves us the $120,000. In order to become eligible for Medicaid, you are not allowed to have more than approximately $150,000, and he's not allowed to have more than two. Wow, home run, you only have 120. So you are now financially, and if he's medically eligible for Medicaid right away, naturally, just because of the type of assets that you happen to have. Now, this doesn't, obviously doesn't work for everybody, but it works for you. So you still need to go through the Medicaid application process. You still need to figure out, go through that whole process, which I would not do alone. I would hire a lawyer to do that. But at least if you have the lawyer, you now know the knowledge that he's immediately eligible for Medicaid, even though no advanced planning was done. So that at least hopefully helps you understand that, if the doctors come back and tell you, yeah, we just don't think it's safe to return him home, you can obviously take him home against medical advice. You're allowed to do that. But if they come back and tell you that, and they feel like, and you agree that the best place for him is a long-term care facility, please know you can do it and you can afford it because you're not going to pay. So hopefully that helps a little. And if you need help, please don't go alone when you're applying for Medicaid. And folks, quite frankly, that's a lot. That's a call that is exactly what this guide this month, brand new guide for the month that we're giving away, is long-term care planning for the procrastinator. And I say that, but you know what? It's also about people who have done planning, but inevitably still have assets outside the trust, like large IRAs or money they left outside the trust or whatnot. So we can do things last minute for someone who's done no planning, or someone who's done planning but still has assets they need to protect when they're faced with going in a nursing home. So this guide really is for everyone in those situations. It helps you understand how to protect real estate, vacation homes, rental properties, excess dollars. There's different rules for these different kinds of assets. So call and get the guide. Long-term care planning for procrastinators, 866-848-5699 or legalexchangeshow.com. Don't apply for Medicaid on your own. It generally results in loss of assets. 866-848-5699 or legalexchangeshow.com.
Todd, I've got another one for you here. We got to be quick just because we're getting close to wrapping up, but we got Dan in Florida on the line. Dan, what's your question for Todd?
Hi, I have a revocable trust, and my wife passed away. Should I get an irrevocable trust, or should I get an LLC? And I'm 74.
So LLCs are really for rental properties. And how much are you worth in the trust and out of the trust?
I don't know, probably $3 million. I own three other pieces of property other than my home.
Okay, so let's say 3 million in total, right?
Yep.
So if that's the case, you do want to take a look at the trust that you had, that your wife had, and technically some of those assets that are in there are probably protected from future estate taxes. So we don't want to disturb that, right? I would need to read the trust. You going forward, I assume you have your own revocable trust?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So LLCs are great for rental properties. So yes, I'd want to explore rental property protection for you with an LLC. But then at the same time, we would want to think about protecting assets from the nursing home. So if that's a concern for you at this point, and 74 is a great age, you might want to, change your trust, the assets that you have, and put them in an irrevocable Medicaid trust and get it protected, and potentially change the make a change to your wife's trust to protect those assets without involving screwing up the estate tax planning. Lots to think about for you. I think you ought to reach out to an attorney and get some guidance, because I think, yes, some planning is in order for you going forward.
Mr. Lutsky, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, folks. Always a pleasure.
This has been Ask Todd on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Ask Todd with Todd Lutsky has been presented by Cushing & Dolan, serving Massachusetts and New England for more than 30 years, helping families with estate and tax planning, Medicaid planning, and probate law. Call 800-393-4001 or visit CushingDolan.com. The views expressed in this segment are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Armstrong Advisory does not provide any legal or tax advice. Please consult with your legal or tax advisor on such matters. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.